Hello everybody, Jim Fleeler, Vice President of Sales for Charlotte Products in Canada. Thank you for joining us on today's YouTube video. With COVID-19 and our job has really been to transfer the knowledge to help you lower the risk of an outbreak, and we've added floor care into that process. We have a series of YouTube videos that really talk about spray buffing and interim maintenance, burnishing, things like that. And today we thought we would talk about the other step of interim, which is scrubbing and recoating. So we're going to walk through all of those particular processes. But one thing as a reference, as a marketing reference, we have a very detailed floor care program here from Enviro Solutions, which really lays out all of the steps that are involved with total floor care programs, the product selections, how to choose them, all of the particular codes, square footage coverage, things like that. So it's a really good resource that you can use in any type of facility to match what your objectives are for your custodial janitorial program. So that's a reference online. And one thing that I will point out is, in the next few weeks, we're going to have a very detailed resource on there that explains every step involved with deep stripping, with deep scrubbing, with applying finish, with spray buffing and things, from not only the safety protocol, but also the tools and equipment that are required, and then a specific checklist in a numerical order that help you go through all of the steps to achieve the job and receive the maximum labor efficiency. So just watch for that and keep an eye. That'll be a couple of weeks from now. So that being said, today, we're going to talk about one of the big things with interim maintenance is really understanding the difference between scrubbing and recoating and deep stripping. And it is really about a 50% labor efficient savings between the two. Obviously, scrub and recoat being the most labor efficient. It basically involves removing the top 1 or 2 coats of damaged finish, preparing the floor for a fresh 1 or 2 top coats of finish, making it appear like you've put all the time and money into a deep stripping process, but really at half of the cost, half of the labor, and a much more sustainable way to do it to treat the planet for all of us in the future coming. So that, with that being said, you need to have that as part of your floor care program without doubt, and we're going to show you that how to do it there. So this is the product that we're using. We're using ES91. It is basically very simply used at 4 ounces per gallon in cool water. We're going to show you in a minute there, but cool water, 4 ounces per gallon, mop it on the floor, enough moisture to remain wet for 2 minutes. Then we're going to do a blue pad scrub, a wet vac or a squeegee or a mop pickup, and then we're ready to go with a top coat and you're done. That's all there is to it. So enough of the talk, I think. Let's just get right to the floor and we'll show you how it works. Okay, so now we're going to really show you how to scrub and recoat the floor. And the first thing you'll see we're doing is we have our wet floor signs up for liability and slip and fall. And we also have Jen actually doing a quick surface dust mop. People often say, do I have to dust mop because I'm deep stripping or deep scrubbing anyway? And the answer is yes, you absolutely must. Why? There's staples, rocks, debris, grit, all kinds of things that are on the floor. When you add a mechanical machine and aggressive pad in a circular motion, you can cause permanent damage. So that's exactly why you dust mop ahead of time. So our product we're using today is ES91. That's our top coat, our scrub and recoat product. Let's show you actually how to mix it. It's very important you follow the instructions exactly the way that the manufacturer, who is us by the way, that indicates that you do. So this calls for 4 ounces per gallon. I have 2 gallons of cool water in my bucket already. I basically have this little portion aid, which is a real nice mixing device. It's graduations in milliliters and ounces on it, but I happen to know this is exactly 4 ounces. So I just do a nice gentle squeeze, pour into the bucket. I need 2 of these. You can notice at the same time I'm wearing my gloves and my goggles as well, and I just simply do a nice squeeze, okay, in there, and that is all there is to mixing. Mix it exactly as per the instructions on the label, and it will treat you great every single time. So I've done that. I'll just set my jug down, okay, and I just want to give it a little bit of a mix here to make sure it's thoroughly through my mopping solution. And what I want to do here, I'm going to work in this small area, right? And you can see this floor is in actually relatively good shape, but it's the floor we have in our training center. I'm just basically going to give it a mild, just a little bit of a rinse, because I want to have it moist enough that it stays down 2 minutes wet. Okay, I'm going to work my area, just backed it out, probably could be a little bit wetter. You can see my back and things too. I'll just put a little bit more down, simply because I've got to let it sit 2 minutes. And when I'm actually mopping this, be careful not to step in it. Also, keep your back straight. You can see it's just like putting finish down or damp mopping. That's all I'm going to do. My legs nice and straight, my back straight, using the power of my arms and my legs, and that's it. Very simple. So now we have to let this sit 2 minutes for a dwell time. You'll also notice, I know you can't notice it on camera, but there's virtually no odor to it whatsoever, so we're going to lower the complaints if we're doing it in the daytime with visitors and occupants in our building as well. So while that's sitting for 2 minutes, let's get our equipment ready to go, and we'll show you what pad we're going to use. Okay, so as our deep scrub product is actually sitting on the floor and our dwell time is 2 minutes, I thought it's a great time to get the machine ready to go. So for this process, we're going to put our PPE on, but we're going to use a blue scrub pad. This is typically what you're going to use for pretty well any scrub and recoat procedure. Like I said in a couple of the previous videos, the best way to put it on is really on the floor. Make sure it's centered, give it a little bit of a press down, and then that way your pad's going to be even, sort of like driving a car with a smooth tire or one that's out of balance. So this will actually be less fatiguing on the operator. You know, here we have our 3 cogs. Okay, it's just a matter of simply locating those. Oh, where am I here? And giving it a little twist, and I'm ready to go. So now I take my machinery, and Jen's over there and she's going to plug me in, because that's one of the things you never ever have to do, or you always want to do, is never ever plug it in ahead of time, and when you're especially putting the pads on and things like that. So I want to get this positioned to my specific strong point here in my hip. I want to lock the handle, and one thing you really want to watch about here is when you're going into deep stripping solution or you're going into deep scrubbing solution, always follow the path that you've scrubbed with your feet. What does that do? Gets rid of that slippery mass that's there, gets you a much better foot traction, less chance of a slip and fall. So just watch, and I'm just going to move ahead. And you can see I'm walking into my area that I've actually scrubbed. And I am simply going to keep an eye on the cord. I'm going to go back. This is about the speed that you want to go. You want to make sure that you're overlapping every single area. Take your time. Don't rush through this or you'll repeat the steps. And you'll notice that there's no splashing. This is a 2-speed machine that we're using, and it is on low speed. If you've heard of a term before called hydroplaning with car tires in rain, the faster you go, the less resistance, the more chance of a crash in a car. In this here, if I have this on high speed, some people think it's a faster procedure. What will happen though is it'll skim over the top and not take the finish off like you want it to. So low speed always with a 2-speed. Okay, so this floor is not in bad shape, but you can see I've gone through that area fairly quickly. Okay, and it's never a bad idea to do a cross pattern as well. Okay, so in other words, left to right or north to south and east to west type pattern. So you can see, because there isn't anything as such as of an even floor anywhere in the world that I've ever found. So it's always nice to take a couple of extra minutes, well, let this product do the work and go over it thoroughly. And that's the scrub and recoat procedure. That's it. So now I'm going to put my machine here. I'm going to have Jen unplug it from the wall, basically move it out of the way so it's very, very safe. And I have a couple of choices now. I can do a wet vac or I can do a squeegee, okay? And I'll show you the wet vac procedure. Because you can do a damp mop as well, but I really like the wet vac because it actually pulls quite a bit of that residue there, and it'll actually be a faster rinse process. So you can see here, it's just a matter of and Jen, maybe if you can bring over that squeegee for me. It's right by the fan. Right by the fan, right? Yeah, okay. So you can see here, I always want to vacuum my edges, make sure nothing's there. Okay, so I can do that in a vacuum process, but I also like a Moss squeegee. I can take a squeegee, actually faster to tell you the truth, okay? I can bring it all to the surface, to this particular area. You can see here, I can do this. And then I've got all the slurry in one spot. I can pick it up, and there's less chance of a residual anywhere in the floor. Okay? That's all there is to it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we've put our product on, we respected the dwell time of 2 minutes, we've given it a blue pad scrub, we've actually done a wet vac with it, but one of my favorites is really a Moss squeegee. It's actually foam, it's really like a sponge. And what I like is I draw that towards the vacuum head, and then I'm not rolling the wheels and the hose and the wand and the cord of the vacuum through the stripping slurry and the finish there. It's a nice, neat way of bringing the pool of slurry to the head of the vacuum. Picking it up, it's actually more labor efficient for sure. So that being said, I just wanted to point that out. Now all we need to simply do is a wet water rinse. Okay, and what I always recommend is a fairly thorough damp mop rinse. Not a flood, okay, but thorough. And so if anything's hiding in any of the nooks and crannies or the lower spots of the floor, you can see I'm just going over it thoroughly here. This is just a basic string mop. I don't generally use expensive mops for deep scrubbing and deep stripping because it's fairly aggressive chemistry, and I just don't want to prematurely wear those out, but that's all there is to it. So now what do we need to do? We need to wait until that dries, right? And once it's dry, we're going to do a test to make sure there's no white powder or flake or residue left, and providing we've done it right, we're ready to go and apply finish. You see how easy this process is? Built around labor savings, sustainability, employee wellness, lowering complaints in a facility, and really allowing you to maintain a sparkling, clean, shiny floor in your facility year-round and for many years to come. Deep scrub and recoating, that's the process.